It is time to define the military actions of the last 9.5 years. What do you call the million dead Iraqis, the lies about WMDs, the near-decade-long occupation of Afghanistan, the drone attacks inside our supposed ally Pakistan, the drone attacks in Yemen, the U.S. warships off the coast of Syria, and the EU and UN calls for sanctions? What do you call this? Where is it all originating from? What's the end game? What's the goal? Well, if you look at historical references and comparisons, this is undoubtedly the beginning of a new major multi-regional war. And how do you define a multi-region, long-term war with large casualties with many countries involved? You call it a world war. But in our modern Orwellian age, the spin doctors have simply labeled it as vengeance for 9/11, and then looking for WMDs, and then hunting for Al-Qaeda, and then liberating countries. And in the last 9 years, we have seen invasion after invasion against the Middle East and Central Asian countries. We're not saying that Muammar Gaddafi is good or that Assad of Syria is good. What we're saying here is that the reasons we're being given for these invasions, that their humanitarian actions, are frauds. We were told that Gaddafi strafed peaceful crowds with helicopters. No proof was ever released. We were told he had rape gangs fueled by Viagra. The State Department had to admit that that was a fraud. Just like the State Department had to admit that testimony to Congress back in 1990 about Saddam Hussein and his forces throwing babies out of incubators and killing them was a PR lie. It's about bringing in a world government and openly al-Qaeda forces being used in the east of Libya to destabilize. It's simple. The big mega banks that run the West go in, foment guerrilla warfare groups to start wars with their countries, whether those countries are good or bad. The facts are they foment the rebellions. Once the rebellion is on, the sanctions come in, then the drone attacks, the full bombardments, and then the ground invasions. And now as we see U.S. forces building up off the coast of Syria, U.S. forces, special forces building up inside Libya, the ground forces getting ready, this begins to officially fit the definition of a world war. Then there is the debate about what name to use. I called this the beginning of World War III in that video. But if you really read what the Pentagon and neocons have to say, they call the 50-year-long Cold War, they call that World War III, and say that proxies were used and it was done in multi-regions. I've seen quotes of George W. Bush calling the war on terror, which is a war against sovereign nations, World War III. So is it World War IV? I don't know, but it is a world war. It undoubtedly is a corporatist, neo-colonial operation to destabilize the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia and replace the tyrannies that were there with even more draconian tyrannies that we in the West are paying for, while at the same time the social engineers use the outside threat as a pretext to take our liberties. Many people who watched my video titled Obama Launching World War III misunderstood what I meant by World War III. I understand that in popular culture, World War III signifies a Cold War nuclear exchange with Russia. And of course, we don't know how World War III would end, but we do know that World War IV would be fought with sticks and stones. I'm not talking about a surefire Armageddon. I'm not talking about total megadeath and billions dead or the earth rendered lifeless. I'm talking about the definition of a world war. Multiple regions with many different nations involved with high body counts over a long period of time that affects the entire world. Via our dead troops, increased oil prices, bankrupt deficits, it's all there. This is a world war. And it's been going on now for at least 9 years, but it's coming to a head. It's intensifying. There's 5 major wars going on right now. And yes, it could lead with China threatening the United States and NATO, with Russia threatening, with U.S. warships going into the Black Sea. A lot of other analysts are saying this could lead to World War III. And by World War III, they mean the hot thermonuclear World War III, not the standard New World War. So I think the best way to describe this is the way Gerald Celente did going back more than 6 months ago. It's the new Great War of the 21st century. It's going on from North Africa all the way across the Middle East into Central and Southern Asia. And it is turning the entire world against the United States, Europe, and the NATO-led nations. And it is undoubtedly being done using American ingenuity, blood, and treasure to expand the power of the private corporate global government. So call it World War III, World War IV, the next great war of the 21st century, whatever name you give it, it's big. And everything is basically accelerating and deteriorating, and major global moves are happening on every front. And there's no mistake this is happening as the world financial system implodes and as the private IMF and World Bank attempt to bring the once wealthy Western nations under their austerity control system and on its ashes build this open private bank of the world. We've still got time. We're at the crossroads right now. We speak out, get the word out, and point out what's happening, that this is a war and not a kinetic humanitarian action. If we reach out to Congress, who's already suing Obama over not getting congressional approval for the new Libyan war, we have a chance of reversing this. Clearly, false flag attacks are in the offing. The preparatory phase of conditioning the public to blame countries like Pakistan and Libya is going on right now. All of the different factors are aligning to confirm that this new world war will be a corporatist war directed against sovereign nations, but not just Libya and Pakistan or Iran, but against the United States. They use the outside threat as the pretext to also clamp down here at home, just like Adolf Hitler did. I'm Alex Jones. You have been warned. Ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds? Go to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv for the latest headlines and cutting-edge information.